The edge of the galaxy was a silent place. Stars glittered far apart, and the cold emptiness stretched without end. It was here, in this quiet frontier, that the Silenic Concord kept watch. The Concord was an alliance of 12 alien species, all united by fear of the unknown. For centuries, they had learned one lesson. Dangers always came from the dark, from beyond the borders of their mapped space, so they built patrol fleets to guard the edges, scanning for threats before those threats could reach their worlds. On this particular cycle, the patrol fleet known as Vera's Watch drifted near the border of Sector Hylan. Commander Vera, a tall insectoid being with shining black carapace, monitored the fleet's instruments from her command throne. The readings had been calm for weeks, too calm, almost boring. But calm never lasted long in the galaxy. "Commander," called out the sensor officer, a slim, four-eyed Sarathi. His voice trembled, though he tried to sound professional. "We are detecting a disturbance in subspace." Vera leaned forward. "Define disturbance." "An object emerging from hyperspace, size. Enormous." The officer's hands moved quickly over his console. "It does not match any Concord registry. Shape, irregular. Energy readings are strange." A ripple of unease passed through the bridge crew. Unknown ships on the border were rarely harmless. Vera raised her antennae, sharp with tension. "Show me." On the central screen, space rippled like water, and then, suddenly, a massive shadow appeared. It was a ship, or something shaped like one, sliding out of hyperspace with heavy grace. The crew gasped. It was huge, easily the length of several Concord capital vessels placed end to end. But it was nothing like the sleek designs the Concord favored. Instead of curves and flowing lines, this ship was all angles and sharp edges, as if it had been carved from a single block of dark stone. Its surface was scarred, patched, and reinforced with crude metal plates. Where Concord ships glowed with polished elegance, this one looked rough, scarred, and heavy. "It looks ancient," whispered one officer. "Primitive," another corrected quickly. "Yet, it is not drifting. Engines are stable, power readings strong." Commander Vera narrowed her eyes. "Origin?" The sensor officer hesitated. "Cross-referencing now. Wait, this cannot be right." "Say it," Vera ordered. The officer's four eyes blinked nervously. "It matches records of a species catalogued as humanity." The name stirred faint memories in the Concord archives. Humanity was known, but not respected. A young species, barely out of their home system, noisy and reckless but technologically behind. They had only a few colonies and a history of conflict among themselves. To the Concord, humans were little more than an afterthought, yet here was a ship, massive, scarred, alive, bearing their signature. "This cannot be one of theirs," murmured a diplomat on the bridge. "Humans are too young to build something like this," but the readings did not lie. Vera rose from her throne. "Prepare full-spectrum scans. I want everything: hull composition, weapon signatures, power sources, crew life signs. If humanity has built this, we must know how." The fleet obeyed, and beams of invisible energy lanced out toward the dark warship. The scans swept across the hull, peeling back layers of information. At first, the analysts reported confusion. The hull alloys were denser than anything the Concord used, forged in ways they did not fully understand. There were multiple reactors inside, many of them old-fashioned fusion cores, others far more advanced. "It is full of redundancies," the chief engineer said. "Systems repeated again and again as if they expected constant failure. No Concord vessel is built like this." Weapon arrays puzzled them even more. Instead of elegant energy weapons, the ship carried projectile cannons, giant barrels designed to hurl metal slugs at impossible speeds. The aliens found the design crude, almost barbaric. But when they simulated the impact of such weapons, the results shocked them. The cannons could punch through Concord shields in seconds. Still, the strangest part was the armor. Thick layers of metal plating, some smooth, others scarred, and replaced by mismatched panels. The ship looked less like a work of design and more like a fortress rebuilt after every battle. "Why so much armor?" asked a young officer. "No species wastes resources this way. Shields are faster, lighter, stronger." The engineer's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Perhaps they fight wars differently. Perhaps they do not believe in never being hit. They build to endure." The more they scanned, the stranger the ship became. Beneath the heavy layers they found scars, deep burns, shattered sections, melted decks, all patched, all functional. This ship had not only been built, it had survived. A silence grew on the bridge as realization spread. "Commander," the science officer said slowly, "this vessel, it is not new. It has fought battles, many battles, maybe dozens, maybe hundreds. It is still standing." Vera's antennae lowered. "And the humans built it?" "Yes. Records confirm design elements consistent with their early colonies, but heavily modified, over decades, perhaps centuries." The conquered officers looked at each other in disbelief. Humanity had always been considered young and weak. Yet here was proof of something else: resilience, determination, stubborn survival. Still, Vera remained cautious. "Life signs?" she asked. The scans searched deeper. At first, nothing. Then faint readings, low pulses, deep in the core of the ship. "There are cryopods," the sensor officer reported. "Hundreds of them, perhaps thousands. Life signs weak but stable." The bridge grew colder. This was no derelict. It was a tomb, or perhaps a prison, waiting to awaken. Vera spoke firmly. "We will not rush. Continue scans. I want every detail before we decide." The crew obeyed, but unease hung in the air. For the first time in years, the Concord fleet faced something they did not fully understand. The warship hung in silence, dark but alive, like a sleeping giant. Its scarred armor caught the starlight, and its guns rested like claws ready to strike. As the conquered fleet circled cautiously, one thought filled the minds of every officer. If this is what humanity builds when they are desperate, what else are they capable of? The alien fleet floated like silver shadows around the strange warship. Their sleek vessels glowed faintly, elegant and precise in design, but none dared move too close. The human ship, by contrast, hung heavy and silent. Its dark surface reflected almost no light. It looked less like a machine and more like a massive beast, scarred and armored, waiting with patience only time could grant. Inside the flagship of the Selenic Concord fleet, Commander Vera kept her eyes fixed on the great shape that filled the viewing screen. Every detail unsettled her. She had commanded patrols for decades and had seen many ships from many species. But this was different. This vessel carried weight not only in size but in presence. "Report," Vera ordered, her voice firm but measured. The science officer, a tall being with translucent skin that shimmered under the lights, bent forward over his console. "We have completed initial surface scans. The hull alloys are unlike anything in the Concord databases. Their density exceeds our strongest materials. I do not understand how such crude forging methods achieve this strength." The officer paused, his expression troubled. "It is as though they layered metal upon metal, hammering it again and again until it became harder than logic says it should be." A low murmur spread across the bridge. "Show us the internal structure," Vera said. The main display shifted, filling with lines and diagrams as the sensors revealed more of the ship's insides. The officers leaned forward and their unease deepened. The human warship did not follow Concord patterns. Where most advanced ships had one or two primary reactors, this vessel had many. The analysts counted 8, then 12, then more. Small reactors, medium reactors, fusion cores patched together with fission units and newer hybrid drives. Power lines overlapped like tangled roots of a forest. "This is madness," whispered one of the younger officers. "Why would they build it this way? Such inefficiency, such waste." The chief engineer's voice cut in, slow and thoughtful. "Not waste, redundancy. If one reactor fails, another takes over. If one system is destroyed, there are 5 more to keep the ship alive. This is survival design." Commander Vera felt her antennae twitch. "Continue." Weapon systems appeared next. The room filled with quiet disbelief. Conquered vessels carried elegant beam arrays, energy lances, and plasma projectors. But this ship bristled with projectile cannons, massive guns designed to fire solid shells of metal. Some were long-range rail weapons. Others were close-range rotary cannons. All were old-fashioned. Primitive, muttered a voice at the back. Perhaps, the science officer corrected, but not weak. These weapons fire at speeds we can barely calculate. If they strike our shields, the pressure may collapse the barrier in seconds. If they hit our hulls, even one could cripple a cruiser. Simulations ran across the displays. Bright Conquered ships appeared against the black shape of the human warship. The alien fleet opened fire in the model, but the human ship's armor absorbed hit after hit. Its cannons roared, and one by one the Concorde ship shattered in the simulated silence of space. The room went still. "Run it again," Vera ordered. They did. The results hardly changed. "This ship is a fortress," the engineer said at last. "Not fast, not elegant, but built to take punishment and to keep fighting long after any of us would be destroyed." The next scans reached deeper. They showed corridors within corridors, reinforced bulkheads, emergency seals, escape routes layered like a maze. Every hallway had blast doors, every chamber had backups, every system had a twin. It was as though the builders never expected safety. They expected disaster, and they prepared for it. "Commander," said the communications officer, his 4 eyes wide, "I am detecting data stores inside, encrypted, fragmented. Some fragments are leaking. Voices, images, human language. Translate," Vera ordered. The bridge filled with faint sounds broken by static. At first no one understood. Then the translator adjusted and words became clear.
"Hold the line.
Do not retreat. Repairs complete on Deck 7. Weapons ready again. We will not break, no matter how many come." The voices were tired but steady. Some laughed, some sang, some gave orders through battle noise. The fragments painted a picture of people under fire, yet refusing to give up. A chill passed through the crew. "These are not logs of victory," the translator explained. "They are logs of survival. They fought again and again, even when defeat seemed certain." Vera studied the images now showing on the screen. Human faces, sweaty, bruised, yet determined, looked back at her. They were not the faces of a species too young to matter. They were the faces of fighters who would not fall. "Continue searching," Vera commanded. More discoveries came quickly. They found entire sections of the ship rebuilt with mismatched metals, suggesting it had been repaired in the middle of war. They found memorials etched into the walls, lists of names carved by hand row after row. "They honor their dead," one officer whispered. "Even in war they stopped to remember." Then came the most unsettling discovery of all. "Commander," the sensor officer said, his voice tight. "We have located chambers deep in the core. Hundreds of cryopods. Life signs faint but real." The room froze. "Alive?" Vera asked. "Yes," the officer replied. "Humans preserved in frozen sleep. Perhaps waiting for something. Or someone." No one spoke for several moments. The idea of living humans inside that terrible vessel made the air feel heavier. The diplomat, a scaled being with a soft, careful voice, finally broke the silence. "Commander, what are we to do?" "If they awaken and see us as enemies." Vera's mandibles clicked. Her mind worked quickly. The Conquered had always dismissed humanity as weak. Yet here before her was proof of the opposite. If this ship was only one among many, what power might their species truly hold? "Do not wake them," Vera ordered. "We must learn more first. Gather everything. Every scrap of data, every structural detail, every voice log. Only then will the Conquered Council decide." The fleet obeyed, beam sweeping once more across the great warship. But unease did not leave the crew. Every new scan revealed more stubbornness, more scars, more resilience. The humans had built something the Concorde did not understand. Not art, not beauty, not efficiency. They had built endurance. And in that endurance, the aliens began to see a strength greater than they wished to admit. The dark warship floated silently, as though listening. Its cannons rested, but they seemed to watch. Its engines were quiet, but still alive. The crew of the alien fleet could not shake one thought. If this ship survived countless battles and still carried its crew within, what would happen if it awakened now? The answer lingered like a shadow, heavy with possibility. The human warship was not a relic, it was a warning. The warship hung in the void like a sleeping giant. Around it, the conquered fleet drifted in silence, their sleek ships glimmering with soft lights. Scanners pulsed again and again, each sweep peeling back another layer of mystery, but the deeper they looked, the less sense it made. Inside the flagship, Commander Vera stood with her arms crossed, staring at the shifting patterns on the main screen. Every new report unsettled her more than the last. She had expected to find a derelict or a crude vessel to dismiss. Instead, she found something greater, a fortress of endurance, a vessel shaped by desperation and survival. "Commander," the science officer said carefully, "we have translated more of the logs. The ship's name is UNSV Resolute. Its origin dates back over 100 cycles of human history. It was launched not as a colony ship but as a warship." The name echoed across the bridge. Resolute. A word that even in alien translation carried weight. Determination? Refusal to yield. "Show us," Vera ordered. The officer touched his console, and the screen came alive with images pulled from the fractured memory cores. At first came the launch, humans standing proudly on a world of blue skies and green fields, cheering as the massive ship rose into the heavens. The vessel looked newer then, cleaner but still heavy and armored. Crowds of humans waved flags and banners. Their faces were filled with hope, but also with grim knowledge. They knew the battles ahead would not be easy. The logs shifted. Battles filled the screen. The Resolute fought against a foe unknown to the conquered. The enemy ships were strange, insect-like, fast and swarming. Wave after wave attacked, firing energy beams that scorched the armor of the human ship. The Resolute answered with its cannons, firing slugs of dense metal that tore the enemy ships apart. The Concord officers watched in silence. They saw humans rushing through smoke-filled corridors, repairing damage even while under fire. They saw crews welding plates of metal over shattered hull sections. They saw soldiers standing at gun emplacements firing again and again until their arms shook from exhaustion. "This is not how wars are fought in our age," the diplomat whispered. "No," the engineer agreed. "This is how wars are fought when survival is the only goal, when retreat is no option." The logs moved on, showing more battles. Each one scarred the ship further, but each time the Resolute endured. They saw humans improvising, tearing parts from broken sections to repair vital systems, even using pieces of destroyed enemy ships as patchwork armor. They fought with what they had, turning scraps into strength. "Look there," said the science officer, pointing. "That reactor, damaged, then rebuilt with parts never meant for it." They changed their own technology again and again, adapting as they went. The crew watched, spellbound. The Concord prided itself on efficiency and elegance. Humans, by contrast, seemed chaotic. Yet within that chaos was something powerful, an ability to survive what should have destroyed them. Then came the memorials. The logs showed humans gathered in silence, carving names into the inner walls of the ship. Hundreds of names. Thousands. Each one belonged to someone who had fallen in battle. Instead of removing the dead from memory, they engraved them into the very heart of the ship. One alien officer, a young Sarathi, shifted uncomfortably. "They live with their losses," Vera's voice was low. "They carry them." The logs revealed even more. Messages left by captains, officers, and crew. Some spoke to families they might never see again. Some gave speeches to inspire those still fighting. Others were simple. Songs, laughter, jokes shared in dark times. The bridge grew quiet as the last log played. A human commander, scarred and weary, stared directly into the recorder. His voice was steady, his eyes hard. "If you find this ship, then know this. Humanity fights not because we are the strongest, not because we are the smartest, but because we refuse to die. We endure, we adapt, and we survive," the message ended. Silence pressed down on the alien crew. For long moments, no one spoke. The words were simple, but they carried weight like a blade pressed against the skin. These were not the boasts of a conqueror. They were the promises of a survivor. Finally, the diplomat cleared his throat. "Commander, this changes everything. The Conquered has long believed humans to be insignificant, but this is evidence of something else. If they fought wars like this, if they built ships like this—" "They are dangerous," one officer interrupted, his voice sharp. "Or valuable allies," the diplomat countered. Arguments rippled through the crew. Some wanted to classify humanity as a threat to be contained. Others saw strength that could one day protect the galaxy. Commander Vera listened in silence, her gaze never leaving the dark warship outside. "Enough," she said at last. Her voice cut through the noise like steel. "We are not here to decide their fate. We are here to learn. And what we have learned is clear. The humans are not weak. They are not simple, they are resolute. Her words silenced the crew. The sensors beeped again, drawing their attention. New scans revealed faint heat deep inside the ship. Systems were still active, not just on standby. Engines rested but were not cold. The cryopods, too, glowed faintly with life. "Commander," the sensor officer said slowly, "I believe some of the crew may still live." "They sleep, but they live." The bridge froze. "Alive?" Vera asked. "Yes, hundreds of them. Perhaps more." The possibility shook everyone. If these humans awakened now after centuries of sleep, what would they think of the aliens circling their ship? Would they see friends or foes? The diplomat whispered, "We must be careful. We are looking at survivors of a war we cannot even imagine. If they awaken, they may see us as enemies. And if they fight..." He did not finish. No one needed him to. They had all seen the simulations. This single warship, scarred and battered, could destroy their fleet if pushed. Vera stood tall, her antennae twitching with thought. "We do nothing yet. We will not wake them. We will not touch their pods. We will continue to learn, and then we will report to the council. Let them decide." But inside she felt a weight she could not share. The council would not understand. They would argue, they would delay, they would debate. Yet here was no theory, no distant rumor. Here was proof that humans were far more than the galaxy believed. She turned her eyes to the dark vessel once more. The UNSV Resolute hung silent but not defeated. Its scars were not marks of weakness but of survival, and within its people still endured. Commander Vera whispered to herself too quietly for the others to hear. "If this is only one ship, how many more have they built?" The thought lingered in her mind long after. The history of the Resolute was not only a record of battles. It was a warning written in steel and blood. Humanity may fall, but it will always rise again. The UNSV Resolute floated in silence, scarred but alive. Around it, the sleek ships of the Selenic Concord moved like cautious birds circling a predator. They had scanned its hull, studied its weapons, traced its history, and listened to the voices of its long-dead crew. Each discovery had left them more unsettled than the last. Now the greatest discovery weighed on them all: the cryopods. Humans still lived inside. Inside the flagship, Commander Vera's bridge buzzed with quiet tension. Officers spoke in low tones, their voices thick with unease. Every screen displayed fragments of the Resolute's systems, but none of the data brought comfort. "Commander," said the science officer, his translucent skin glowing faintly under the lights, "I have confirmed that at least 300 pods are still active. Their energy levels are low but stable. These humans are not dead. They are waiting." A hush fell across the crew. The diplomat, his scaled face tight with concern, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Waiting for what? Rescue reinforcements? Another battle? No one answered. The question hung in the air like a storm cloud. Commander Vera stood tall, her antennae twitching as she considered the possibilities. She had seen the logs, the battles, the names carved into steel. She had heard the human voices speak of survival and endurance. Now the thought of those same humans awakening filled her with a strange mix of emotions. Fear, but also respect. "Do not disturb the pods," Vera said firmly. "We will observe only. If they awaken, it will not be by our hand." The officers nodded, though unease lingered in their eyes. Suddenly, a sharp tone echoed across the bridge. The communications officer straightened, all four of his eyes wide. "Commander, the ship is transmitting." Everyone froze. "On screen," Vera ordered. The display flickered, and for a moment there was only static. Then slowly an image appeared. It was not live, but recorded. A human face, worn and weathered, eyes bright with determination. The voice that followed carried weight, steady and unshaken. "If you are hearing this," the human said, "then know this. Humanity does not break. We fight, we endure, and we survive." The recording ended. The silence that followed was heavier than before. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Some shifted uncomfortably, others stared at the floor. The words were not shouted, not arrogant. They were simple, certain, and somehow that certainty carried more power than any threat. "It was left for us," the diplomat whispered. "Or for anyone who found this ship," the engineer replied. "A message to the galaxy." Commander Vera's gaze never left the dark shape outside. "Not just a message," she said. "A warning." The science officer spoke again, his voice careful. Commander, I have run simulations. If ships like the Resolute were deployed in numbers, even small numbers, they would shift the balance of galactic wars. Entire empires could have fallen. The diplomat looked uneasy. Then perhaps we should inform the Council at once. If humanity possesses more vessels like this, they must be monitored. Controlled. Controlled? The engineer clicked his mandibles. Can you control beings who build such ships? Who fight until nothing is left? I think not. The discussion grew heated. Officers debated across the bridge, their voices rising. Some argued that humanity was too dangerous to ignore. Others said they could be allies, that their strength might one day shield the Concord from threats. Commander Vera listened, silent, as the voices swirled around her. Finally, she raised one clawed hand. Enough. The voices fell quiet. We cannot decide their fate here, Vera said. We are scouts, not rulers. But we have learned something the Council has never understood. The humans are not weak. They are not naive. They are not to be dismissed. They are survivors. And survivors are the most dangerous kind of people. Her words echoed in the silence. Just then, another alarm blared across the bridge. The sensor officer's hands flew over his console. Commander. Movement inside the warship. Power levels rising. Every officer stiffened. Explain, Vera demanded. Secondary systems are activating. Lights, engines, internal networks. Slowly but steadily. The ship is waking. The bridge grew colder. For weeks, months, perhaps centuries, the Resolute had drifted, silent but alive. Now before their eyes it stirred like a beast shaking off deep sleep. On the main screen, faint glows appeared across the warship's surface. Running lights flickered to life, dim but undeniable. Energy pulsed faintly through its veins. The diplomat's voice cracked. If the humans awaken now, what will they see? A fleet surrounding them. Us. The engineer leaned closer to his station. Commander, readings suggest some pods are warming. One, perhaps two, are preparing to release. The crew stared at Vera, waiting for her command. Fear pressed down on them all. Vera's mandibles clicked as she thought. If they fled now, the humans would know the Conquered had been watching. If they stayed, they risked facing survivors who might see them as enemies. Her decision came swift and sharp. Hold position. No hostile action. We do not fire unless fired upon. Record everything. The officers obeyed, though tension gripped them like chains. Minutes stretched like hours. On the dark warship, a single window lit up, glowing faintly against the void. Then another, and another. The Resolute was no longer a corpse, it was breathing again. Suddenly, the communications officer gasped. Commander, we are receiving a new signal. Live this time. Vera's chest tightened. Put it through. The screen flickered. Static cleared. And there, for the first time, stood a living human. His face was pale from cryosleep, his hair damp, his uniform old but intact. His eyes, though tired, burned with clarity. His voice carried across the void, steady and commanding. This is the United Nations ship Resolute, he said. Identify yourselves or prepare to be tested. The bridge of the Concord flagship fell silent. Every officer felt the weight of those words pressed down upon them. Not shouted, not threatened. Simply stated like fact. The human's image faded, but the silence lingered. Commander Vera looked at the dark warship, now alive with faint light, and felt a rare chill in her core. The Resolute was not a relic. It was not a ruin. It was a survivor. And survivors, she realized, were far more dangerous than conquerors. The void of space was silent except for the faint hum of the Selenic Concord fleet's engines. Every officer on every bridge felt it. The weight of a moment that could change everything. For cycles, they had studied the UNSV Resolute, uncovered its history, marveled at its resilience. But now it was no longer silent. The ship stirred. Its lights flickered to life and its energy systems warmed. Inside the flagship, Commander Vera paced slowly. Her antennae twitched as she monitored the readings. Every signal told the same story. The humans were waking. Commander, the sensor officer said, his voice tight. The pods are opening. Systems are stabilizing. Life signs are strong. They are emerging from cryosleep. A hush fell over the bridge. No one moved. No one spoke. Every officer stared at the screen where faint movements could be detected through the ship's hull sensors. The first human appeared in the corridors of the Resolute. He was tall, his uniform faded but functional. Frost from cryosleep clung to his hair, and yet his eyes burned with clarity and purpose. He looked around at the damaged, patched corridors of his vessel as if remembering each scar personally. Then slowly, others began to awaken. One by one, humans emerged from their pods, stretching limbs stiff from long sleep. Some coughed, others whispered names of those long gone, but all moved with the same determination. The science officer gasped. They are alive, hundreds of them, fully functional, alert, aware. Vera's mandibles clicked softly as she considered the implications. For centuries, humans had been dismissed by the galaxy as weak, primitive. Yet here was proof that even after decades of dormancy, they could awaken, repair their ship, and act as a single, coordinated unit. The human crew moved quickly. Engineers ran to repair minor systems. Soldiers checked weapon stations. Medics ensured that all humans were stable. The Resolute, though battered, responded instantly. Its engines hummed steadily, power flowing smoothly to weapons and shields. Every scar, every patch, every improvised repair came to life as if the ship itself were alive, recognizing its crew once more. Vera spoke quietly, more to herself than to anyone else. They are not a ship. They are the ship. Then, the first human commander, the one who had spoken through the broadcast, walked to the main viewport. He stared outward at the alien fleet surrounding his vessel. His posture was calm but commanding. "This is the United Nations ship Resolute," he said, voice steady and clear, filling the empty void. "Identify yourselves or prepare to be tested." The conquered fleet held its breath. The words were simple yet carried immense weight. They were neither a threat nor a plea. They were a statement of fact. Humans did not ask permission to survive. They did not negotiate when standing guard. They simply acted. The bridge erupted in quiet murmurs. The diplomat spoke first. "Commander, what do we do?" Vera remained still, studying the flickering lights of the Resolute. She could see the power in the ship, the coordination of its crew, the determination that radiated from them even through the cold void of space. "They are survivors," she said. "Not conquerors, not invaders. Survivors. And survivors are the most dangerous beings in the galaxy." The engineer nodded. "Our simulations. They underestimated them. Even one Resolute with its crew at full strength could easily dominate a conquered fleet of this size." The diplomat paled. "And yet, if they choose not to attack, they could be allies, guardians, protectors." Vera's eyes did not leave the human vessel. "We will not decide that. Their actions will decide that. We only observe. We do not interfere." For hours, the aliens watched as the Resolute's crew organized themselves. Systems hummed, weapons calibrated, shields glowed faintly. The ship was no longer a relic of war. It was alive, fully aware and ready. Every action demonstrated the human factor. Adaptation, determination, coordination, and courage. In the alien fleet, unease grew into respect. The humans were nothing like they had expected. Not weak, not reckless, not primitive. They were something far older, far stronger than any species the Concord had faced before. A species that endured against impossible odds. Suddenly, a small group of humans emerged onto the outer deck of the ship. Using engineering drones and magnetic platforms, they began external repairs on the battered hull. The aliens could see them moving in perfect coordination, adjusting heavy plates, rewiring damaged circuits, and inspecting weapon systems. Each movement was precise, deliberate, and fast. The diplomat leaned forward, whispering, "Even after centuries, they adapt. They survive. They endure." Vera nodded, her antennae lowered in thought. "Yes, they endure. And endurance. Endurance is the deadliest weapon of all." Then, from inside the Resolute, another human voice spoke, calm but firm, amplified across the void. "To any who watch us, we are humanity. We fight, we endure, and we survive. We will defend ourselves, our worlds, and our people. We do not ask permission, and we do not retreat. Choose your next actions carefully." The conquered fleet remained motionless. No one dared to make a move. Every officer knew the truth in that statement. These were not merely soldiers. These were survivors shaped by centuries of conflict, forged in battles that no alien could fully understand. And they were awake now. Vera turned to her bridge crew. "Send full records to the council," she said. "Every scan, every log, every message. They must know the truth. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is not insignificant. Humanity endures. The engineers continued scanning, mapping the fully awakened human crew as they repaired and organized their warship. Systems once considered dormant now hummed with life. Lights pulsed rhythmically, engines purred steadily, and weapon systems calibrated for action. The aliens could see it. Every scar and patch was functional, every improvised repair efficient, every crew member performing beyond expectation. Hours passed. The conquered fleet remained in formation, wary but respectful. Slowly, the realization spread among the officers. They were witnessing something extraordinary. They were seeing not a machine, not a relic, but the human spirit manifested in steel and flesh. Finally, the first human commander returned to the main viewport. He looked directly at the alien fleet, his voice unwavering. "We have survived wars that should have ended us. We have built strength from failure, courage from loss, and hope from despair. If you come with hostility, know that we will meet it. If you come with respect, know that we are willing to observe and respond." Humanity endures, nothing more, nothing less. Silence followed. The conquered fleet felt the weight of those words pressing into their minds, deeper than any cannon fire or weapon simulation. Vera whispered, almost to herself, "They are not just a species. They are a force. A storm waiting quietly in the void." As the Resolute powered fully online, its lights glowing steadily, its engines strong, its crew fully awake, the fleet of aliens realized the truth. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity was not naive. Humanity was the storm that could not be stopped. The moment lingered. The alien officers felt awe, fear, and respect intertwine in their minds. They had come to observe, to study, and perhaps to dismiss. Instead, they had discovered something far more dangerous: the indomitable will of an entire species. Commander Vera finally broke the silence. "Prepare a full report. Send everything to the Conquered Council. Include every log, every scan, every message. Humanity is not insignificant. Humanity endures, and the galaxy must know." The diplomat nodded, his voice quiet but steady. "It will change everything, Commander. The Council will see what we have seen, the humans. They are beyond what we imagined." Vera's eyes stayed on the Resolute, now alive and fully operational. "Yes," she said. "Beyond imagination, and this is only one ship." Far across the void, the humans continued their work, their warship alive with purpose. The conquered fleet observed in silence, knowing that the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity was awake. Humanity endured. Humanity was the storm, and no one, not alien, not human, not anyone, would ever forget it.